Hey everybody, welcome to Thirsty Thursdays with the therapist. Jaleisha Gowling here, licensed marriage family therapist here in New York City, working with people to help them unpack the baggage that gets in between their relationships. Today we are continuing to build on what we talked about in the last episode of Thirsty Thursdays in terms of adding to your relationship love bank account. How can you do that every day? Why it's so important. If you missed that episode, you've got to scroll back. You've got to go back to the last episode because I was talking about deposits, withdrawals, how to avoid getting into overdraft. You definitely want to check it out. Today, I want to continue building on that by talking about what's called turning towards your partner and making bids for connection and the importance of intentionally doing that in your relationship on a daily basis. It's not only incredibly helpful just to your bond and the harmony in your relationship, but it's also incredibly important to build that up so that when stuff hits the fan or life throws some craziness at you, you have enough buffer and cushion in the bank to be able to handle it without becoming completely disconnected. So I wanted to reference a study by Dr. Gottman, who is a researcher. He's a well-renowned therapist who studied couples along many long-term studies. And one study that he did some time ago was on newlyweds. He gathered a bunch of newlyweds. He followed them for 6 years and studied their interactions. And at the end, he separated the group that still were together and the group that had been divorced or had separated. And what he found, this notable difference in the two groups, was that the group who still was staying together, they made bids for connection and they turned towards one another 86% of the time. Whereas the group who no longer were together only did so 33% of the time. And this is huge difference. And these gestures and bids for connection that I'm going to talk about, they may seem so small, but they are so important. And so what is turning towards your partner? What does that look like, Jaleisha? Well, it can be as simple as asking your partner for help. Now, the thing is, this is a two-way thing. So if I'm turning towards you as my partner, you've got to receive that bid for connection and you've got to respond, okay? So this isn't just on one person. So say you make that initial bid for connection, you make that initial step to turn towards your partner. It might be you saying, hey, let's go for a walk. It might be, could you look up the number to the restaurant that we want to go to tomorrow and ask them if we can change our reservation. It's making some sort of bid to connect through maybe asking for help, maybe wanting to bond. It could be simply sharing about your day or sharing about something that's been bothering you, wanting to de-stress together and making some sort of bid or request with your partner towards your partner. And ideally, they would respond and engage in whatever that request is or that bid for connection. This can be affection. It can be nonverbal. It can be you grazing your partner's back as you walk by them in the kitchen. It could be grabbing their hand while you're on the couch and snuggling up a little bit closer while you're watching Netflix. It could be sending them some sort of funny joke or meme that maybe a coworker sent you and sending it to them in the middle of your workday. Just saying, hey, thinking about you, thought you'd find this funny. And maybe you reference it later. Basically, these sort of simple things, these bids for connection, are examples of turning towards your partner. And you want to make sure that you're doing that and that you're not just kind of getting caught up in the routine of the day and what you got to do and just kind of moving past one another like roommates, but that you are intentionally making these bids to connect with one another in different ways. And also that if your partner is turning towards you, that you are receiving that you are responding to that you can take that in, even if it's a tense moment or maybe you just had a misunderstanding. It's so important that these bids for connection are initiated and are received. And this also is so crucial and connected to what we talked about in the last Thirsty Thursdays in regards to the emotional bank account. When you are doing this, you're filling your bank account. So when you have that moment, which will happen, where you make a bid for connection and say your partner kind of backs away, they don't want to take your hand, or they're still upset about what you said this morning, or they just had a bad day and they don't want to be touched. That, in a sense, is obviously, it's not ideal. Like you'd want them to receive it. But if you have been consistently and intentionally filling up that emotional bank account with kind gestures and intentional quality time moments, if that's been happening on a regular basis, when you or your partner rejects or misses a bid for connection or turns away when your partner turns towards you, it's not the end of the world because you got money in the bank. Do you get it? Does that make sense? Like this, that's why I'm talking about this. That's why it's so important that we're doing these things, even when things are going well. Because when shit hits the fan, you need to have some cushion, okay? So, that being said, I'll wrap this video up. Make sure you check out the last video on your bank account balance because it's really important, and I think it will tie nicely together between that one and this one. I will see you guys on the next Thirsty Thursdays with the therapist. In the meantime, can you subscribe to my YouTube channel? Let's Unpack Therapy. Just hit the button. You're right here probably at YouTube. Just hit the button, subscribe. Let me know what you're thinking. I'd love to know what you guys want to hear more about. Feel free to drop a comment and let me know a subject or a topic or a question that's been on your mind. And I would love to pop on and do a Thirsty Thursdays regarding what you guys want to hear. I will see you guys next time. Subscribe.